Reverend Valson, I would like to know how do we go about introducing this whole concept of applied spirituality or the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means one God, the Creator, one universe, and one human family. To the children of the world, those who are in schools, colleges, etc., and those who have the spontaneity still left to respond to such things and formulate a spiritual task for themselves. Nothing should be imposed from above. Let the children take up these questions one by one in their own way and then respond to them, write the answers down, and also share it with their comrades, with their friends. So this way, I think we should encourage children to write their own little small scripture, I would say, put it that way. Not more than one A4 size, one page. And put it up on their table and also read it 10 times at least every day and then try to inculcate those values, whatever they decide for themselves. That means they be their own guru, they be their own prophet, and try to be as prophetic in their life as possible and as less a priestly as possible. Because priest is always for the status quo and prophet is for change. The world needs change. So from this point of view, I'll raise a few questions.
Sure.
If God is one, as we all say, we all agree, why is there inequality among God's children? Are some people the children of a lesser God?
I think it's a very crucial question. You say, if God is one. In that construction, there is an awareness and a concern that unfortunately on the ground, as people are trained, taught and misled, God is not one. We are divided and afflicted by an army of gods.
And goddesses.
And goddesses. Each group has its own god or goddess or godman or godwoman. And each of them has an agenda or an understanding completely different from the others, and they make it a matter of virtue to play up differences. In fact, in every interreligious encounters I have had, the spotlight is always on differences, whereas we share 99% in common.
More than that.
No one talks about it.
Yeah.
So now therefore, the idea of one God has not been addressed. Unfortunately,
but let me share with you, whenever I go to the children studying in schools, the younger they are, they all respond with great degree of spontaneity when I ask, Ishwar, Allah, Paramatma, Vaheguru, God, ये एक है या अलग अलग? बोलते हैं एक है. ठीक है, वो बच्चे बोलते हैं. The children say that there is one. And secondly, ये अलग अलग नहीं है, एक है, तो सारे दुनिया को बनाने वाला एक है या अलग है? बोले एक है. So I find a lot of response and this feeling that there's one God. Now I want to start with this presumption that leave alone those people, the God men and their chelas and chelis. They will always quarrel about their different gods and goddesses. But I'm talking about the general mass of people, or the children particularly, those who are still innocent. And if they agree that there is one God, how do we explain that many members of the same God are unequal? Why are they not all equal?
now you have to be very clear about interacting with children. They are very innocent. In fact, the beauty of childhood is that it is not fragmented. by all these conflicting and divisive ideologies and myths and stories. And as it is well said, when an infant is born, when a baby is born, the baby is universal. There is no label, there is no sense of color or any form of discrimination. But gradually, unfortunately, in the kind of nurturing and training that we have developed, these innocent, universal, godly minds are progressively poisoned by the adult world, by the adult world. So, at the time or at the stage at which you are addressing them, they are still impressionable, they still have not been complete, their conscience has not been completely killed and corrupted. Their freedom to be truly themselves has not been taken away from them.
Sure.
So they will agree with what you're saying, because the impact you have on them at that point of time is really great. Now we have to, if you really want to bring about a change, we have to also not only look at the children but the world beyond the school. School is very important for us. All education institutions are important for us. One of the questions I've always agonized over as an educationist is this. I try to train my students in the best of ideas and ideals. But what happens to them when even they go back home? It's violated. So these young minds are continually in a state of confusion. So I'm not therefore saying that we should not really confront them with these questions or give them these options. I'm only saying that we have to factor this into our strategies.
Okay.
Now, none of the school children I have met is bothered about your many gods. They rather love one another than fight in the name of anything. If at all they fight for something, it will be a sweet. That's a much better fight than fighting in the name of your God. Because they don't insult God when they fight. Right. We insult God when we fight.
Now let us take it this way.
Yes.
Between you and me,
Yes.
we agree that there is one God, the
There's
creator
only
of
one.
this universe.
There's
now,
only one God.
Yeah, there's only one God. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
In Islam, they have this kalma.
Yes.
It says, La ilaha illallah.
Yes.
There is only one God. Now, having agreed on that, how would you try to sort of explain that there is inequality among God's children?
But I have to make one thing very clear. When everybody will say,
No, I mean, between you and me.
No, it's extremely important to say this. People should know this. See, many people will say there is only one God. But the problem comes when they insist that one God is my God. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That God, that one God is my God.
Okay.
So you are ungodly, you are inferior, you are this, that and the other. So that's the issue. Now that issue has to, this is what true education has to happen. Miseducation happens through our religious networks. Continuously they are being nurtured, they have been brainwashed, they have been turned against the one true living God.
Yes. No, suppose some of us who belong to different religions, but in spite of all of our differences,
Yes.
we agree and sincerely agree
Yes.
that there is one God,
Yes.
the creator of this universe.
Yes.
And we are all human beings, we are all children of one and the same God,
Yeah.
created by same compassionate God. Now, how do you explain that there is so much of inequality between that one and the same God? Why?
No, there can be no inequality if there is only one God.
Yes.
Inequality is created and sustained and aggravated
Yes.
through perverse polytheism. That is, utterly unsustainable, dishonest proclamation or preaching about different gods.
Yes.
My God, your God. So they can never be different. Right? I am different from you, therefore my God has to be different from your God. I would like to be superior to you, therefore my God is superior to you. This is how crudely human religious thinking works.
Now, what about inequality among
I'm coming to
people
that.
who belong or confess the same God?
That's what I'm saying. That is because God has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
Then the only thing that matters is what you have materially.
Yes.
And in the Bible, for example, Jesus many times talks about, he rebukes, he condemns, he reprimands the keepers of religion, and he says to them, look, if a rich man comes wearing a prominent ring and in fine clothes, you receive him with great honor and give him a place of prominence. The poor man comes into your congregation, you treat him with contempt.
So was it the same situation even 2000 years
Oh
ago?
yeah, this is nothing new. This is nothing new.
I thought
There
it was
no,
in our age of materialism.
Not at all. Inequality is fundamental to religiosity. You cannot create an egalitarian society so long as the present idea and practice of religiosity remain. There's no question about it. Absolutely not. We are divided by the same God. If you say that there's only one God,
Yes.
then why are we divided by the same God? Now I must tell you why it became possible for me to work with you. It's because of my Christian conviction.
Yes.
Now, it's like this. The Bible teaches me that there's only one God, and that God is a creator God. Therefore, my understanding is, and this is where my applied spirituality comes,
Sure.
that there is no human being who is not created by the same God.
Yes.
Now, if therefore we all of us are children of God, then you are my brother and I am your brother.
Yes.
How can there be a wall between us because your clothes are saffron and I wear different clothes because
Colours,
I'm
yeah.
not, I don't have any consistent color. Now, it is this liberating understanding of two things. One, the idea that the absolute conviction that there is only one true living God, and the fact, and then second, the application of that understanding, which results in the conclusion that if that idea is real, then no walls can stand.
Yes.
No discrimination is possible. And inequality is utterly unacceptable, just as inequality should be acceptable in a home.
Exactly.
But even in a home, unfortunately,
we are members of the one simple
Yes.
single family.
Yes.
So somebody may be of, the breadwinner of the family.
Yes.
Another may be a small child. But the family sustains itself
yes,
on this spiritual principle
yes,
that the weakest person of the family
Is more
taken care of
Yes.
first.
a priority.
The
yeah.
breadwinner takes his or her share the last.
Yes.
Whoever the eldest.
Especially the bread maker.
Bread maker. Yes. Now from here follows the second question. Why should we allow ourselves to be divided in the name of higher or lower caste? Or this God revealed religion or that God revealed religion?
Yeah.
Or not the caste, religions, or even national boundaries? Absurd, man-made.
No, the question is we should not.
Yes.
But the ground reality is that we do.
The answer is we should not.
We
Yeah.
should not.
Yeah.
But the observation is that we do.
Yeah.
So, a clear truth that emerges from this is
Yes.
that we do not take seriously any of the things that we mouth in the context of religion. We simply go by what we are told by some utterly uneducated, unenlightened people,
Yes.
and we put our eternal destiny in their hands.
Yes.
And I think that's suicidal.
Yes.
And unless and until people are liberated from the tyranny and manipulation of such people, true God, all of us as children of the one true living God, can really not be born. In fact, human liberation into a new world of freedom and brotherhood and sisterhood can happen only through an honest and comprehensive acceptance of our belonging together to one God.
Excellent, excellent. And therefore, there is no rational or any basis for our being divided into different castes by birth or different religions by birth,
Yes.
or like nationalities also.
Yes.
The nationality today has become very, very important.
That's right.
Nationalism, they call it.
Yeah.
And so much of jingoism around it.
Yeah.
So we'll come to that later on. So these are all man-made, and therefore we should be
Now,
able
I need to
do
introduce
away.
another very important concept here.
Yeah.
See, the fact that we don't have to be divided
Yes.
is absolutely acceptable,
Yeah.
true. But from there, people take a dangerous step. They say, well, then you should be exactly like me. Differences
Yeah.
are integral, are basic to creation.
Yes.
It is essential for the beauty of creation and the richness of creation.
Yeah.
So just as you and I differ in our
Yeah. When we are
features,
saying equality
etc.
doesn't mean uniformity or anything.
No,
like
unfortunately, you are living at a time of massive homogenization.
that. Yes.
There is
Yes.
cultural homogenization in the name of globalization.
Yes.
There is religious homogenization in India, spearheaded by Hindutva.
Yes.
One people, one language, one
Yeah,
culture,
yeah,
so on
yeah.
and so forth. Now one nation. No? It is this homogenization that enables people to make the state into a god. And
Yes.
when you create state as an idol, you will necessarily reject God. God
This
will have
homogenization essentially leads to hegemonization.
hegemonization
Yeah.
and intolerance.
Intolerance.
Intolerance is the greatest
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
Now, the third question follows is, how can we entertain, much less tolerate, inequality in the name of gender or sexual orientation? Is God man, not also woman? And why allow patriarchy to dictate our relations?
Very
Because
simple.
all over the world, among all religions, the way they are being practiced, we find the women have got a lower status. They are like second-class citizens. Whatever they might quote from their scripture or some prophets, this thing, words, etc. But in effect, that is the reality. How do we fight it out?
The first thing is the scriptures are always quoted selectively. Whatever suits your agenda, you quote. And this is very clear in the context of inequality, justifying and perpetuating the inequality of women. The second thing is this. The stupidity and the indefensibility of this is very clearly and simply established in the following manner. If God is the source of the male and the female, man and woman, God can neither be a man nor a woman.
Sure.
I mean, if you argue that now God is a woman, it's not acceptable to me.
Yeah.
Because then it cannot be one God.
Yes. Yes.
Because then I'm out of it.
Yes.
I don't want to be out of it.
Sure.
I don't want you to be out of it. I don't want my sisters to be out of it.
Yes.
I don't want to be a girl child begging in the street to be out of it.
Yes.
Therefore, it's extremely important to enable people to understand what it means to believe in the one God.
Yes.
This education has not even begun. In
Begun,
fact,
yes.
so far in the last 2,000, 3,000 years, education to the contrary has happened.
Yes.
You know, I have read very profound thinkers and who are called